Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jack from Cruise Casino Mafia and our free website, Cruise Casino Advisor. As you can see on the screen, this is our first inaugural video for Friday Free Casino System. It's a series that we're going to be doing. Sometimes it actually is a system, and other times it's a concept or an idea to get your brains working around how some of the best systems work. Just to get your thoughts flowing, and you can take a little bit of a deep dive into how we create algorithms that consistently make us money. So this video is being released on Saturday because there was a little bit of an eBay glitch, and this first video in the Friday Free Casino System series did not go out. So I'm redoing the video right now for you. All right, so let's get right into it. So one of the things that you have to understand is that there are multiple ways of creating what we call algorithms or a system. A system, in terms of what we're talking about, is a proven statistical set of rules that tells you where to place your bet, which is the bet placement side of the system. And then it has two other components. The second one is what to bet on each bet, which is is more of the money management, or what we call the money recovery side of the system. And then the third thing is, how much overall bankroll do you need? What type of capital is needed to then play using this set of rules? So today we're only going to talk about one thing. We're not going to talk about the full system. We're going to talk about concepts surrounding bet placement, the bet strategy. And one of the strategies that always seems to jive with me, something that I really, once you learn it and you get it in your brain, it's something that you start to look at. Every game that you look at is different once you understand this concept. And let's get right into it. Okay, so the concept we're going to talk about today is it works for everything. Okay, it's in regards to patterns, but we're going to talk about it more in regards to two specific games, Roulette and Baccarat. All right, so this is a core algorithmic type of concept. It is not a system, it's the beginning concept behind some of the systems that we use. So multiple different types of systems built on different cores. Today's video is about pattern recognition, and something even more. When we drill down, I'm going to show you even more than pattern recognition. So when we play roulette or baccarat, and let's take a quick look at this. We'll take a look and let's see what's happening. First, we'll take a look at Baccarat for a quick minute. So let's go here. So this is the big road. This is the scoreboard that you would normally see, and this is the bead road. All right, it's just a different visualization of the results from the shoe. If you look, and we can look at both, but if we look at the main scoreboard here, what you can see is that the first result in this shoe, okay, the first result in this shoe was a banker, and then there was a tie. That's how it shows when it puts the little line through it. If you look away from this, if you forget about this, what you see over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is a pattern, right? You can see it's a pattern. It's a chop pattern. We're going from player to banker, player to banker, player to banker, right? And then the pattern breaks. That's all I want you to see, that there's a pattern here, and then it breaks. Now, this is also a pattern, isn't it? This is a pattern of bankers. It's a streak or a stick. It's a pattern of bankers. Does it break? Of course it breaks. As soon as the player happens, it breaks. There were 4 in this pattern, and then this pattern breaks. There was multiples in this pattern, but it's a pattern also. All right? So let's take a look at roulette so that our brains start working and seeing these patterns. If we can get it to switch over. My computer is acting slow again today. All right, so let's see. For some reason, I'm having a problem switching over to roulette. Well, we can just talk about it until we can jump onto the page. All right. Okay, so let's just jump back here for a minute. So I showed you kind of a glimpse of the most basic patterns you can see, right, in Baccarat. A chopping pattern and a streaking pattern. Well, if we were to take a look at a roulette wheel and results from a roulette wheel, we would normally see something like this. Here's a couple of the many patterns that can happen. We can see a red, two blacks, and a red. All right, we can see a red, red, we can see a black and another red, red. Now, if you take a look, and let's take a look here. This is another Baccarat pattern, right? So this is a banker, banker, player, player, banker. This is a player, banker, banker, player. So now let's go a step further, okay? Some systems are built on betting the actual pattern. You've probably seen some of these or read about them in books or watched here on YouTube where people will create systems based on playing a set pattern. So no matter what's happening in the shoe, they're betting banker, banker, player, player, bank, every single time, every 5 or whatever it may be. That's betting a pattern. That's what I consider a positive pattern, meaning that you're believing that the pattern is going to continue. So first of all, let's take a look and make sure that everybody's brain starts to see this. So in this roulette pattern, red, black, black, red, if the pattern were to continue, what would be the next one? Well, obviously it would be another black, right? Because we see a single red, two blacks, a single red, and then we'd be looking for the black. In this pattern, what would it be? Red, red, black, red, red, black, right? That would be the next one if this pattern continued. And in Baccarat, it's no different. It's banker, banker, player, player, banker, and what would we be looking for? A second banker, right, to continue this pattern. So that's more of a positive look at a pattern continuing. But what if I told you that there's another way to look at this? Another way to look at this, and let's talk about it outside of our games, first of all. Patterns don't continue forever, right? Patterns break. If you have 3 days in a row where it's raining outside, do you think that it's going to continue to rain every single day at the exact same time going forward? No, that pattern will break, right? That pattern will break. The same thing if you have a cold right now and you're sniffling, or you have a sore throat and it's been happening for 5 days. Eventually, if you take your medicines and you do what you're supposed to do, that pattern of a sniffly nose or a sore throat will break. Okay, it will break. So patterns always break. Okay, let's talk about that. There's no doubt, right, that a pattern doesn't continue forever. Patterns will break. Why is that? These are random generated games, right? These are random games. Many of the bets in roulette, and of course the bets in Baccarat, are what? Even money bets. Does that mean you can't see 4 or 5 bankers in a row, 7 bankers in a row? Of course we can see 7 bankers in a row, but the pattern is going to break. People will tell you that red and black, you can't figure out which way it's going to go. Well, I agree with them. No one has a crystal ball. So anybody that tells you they have a crystal ball that they know exactly when the red number's coming or the black, it's ridiculous. So that's not what you're attempting to do. You're attempting to determine in a number of results what the pattern is and when it's going to break. And what does a break mean? Like we've just shown you. What does a break actually mean? So what we're talking about here is, let me introduce it to you. It's called pattern breaking. So I love this concept. And the more that you get comfortable with seeing the patterns, the more that you're going to realize that it's an amazing core concept for any type of algorithm. Patterns breaking. So the first thing you have to do is recognize that there actually is a pattern. And then the second thing is, what would be the break? What would be the break? So in this situation here, let's go back to our example. In roulette, we have red, black, black, red. Well, if the pattern continued, it would be a black. So in this four-part pattern, we would be acknowledging the fact that the break of this pattern would be what? A red number, a red number. Okay, in this pattern, we have an RR, B, RR. If it continued, it would be a B, right? This would be a B. But if we're looking at it as a potential pattern breaking concept, this would be another R. All right, does everybody see that? And here we have BB, PP, B. Continuing would mean that this would be a B. Breaking the pattern would be a P, a player. All right, so does everybody understand that what we're talking about today and trying to wrap your brain around is the concept of patterns breaking? All right, patterns breaking. And it goes so far beyond just even money bets. So let's take this a step further and let's see if we can pull up. Okay. And again, there we go. All right, so let's talk about this for a minute. So the roulette wheel is a little bit different. And if you're going to look for pattern breaks on the roulette wheel, there are multiple different type of bets. It's a lot easier to do pattern breaking initially or evaluate the patterns using Baccarat because there's only two bets. There's banker and player. We don't really look at ties in Baccarat. So at least we don't with the mafia system, the mafia family. We don't really do that. But here we can look at, we have to train our brain to see lots of different patterns. And let me give you an example of what we're talking about here with this little simulator. So you know that there's multiple even money bets in roulette. Well, this entire row is even money bets, right? These are dozens, which pay 2 to 1, and they cover a third of the board, right? Basically, and the same thing with the columns. They cover a third of the board just in rows like this instead of this section, and this section. So looking for patterns here is very, very different. Your brain is not going to spot these patterns as quickly until you've done this for a while. So let's take a look at the results here and let's see if we see any patterns. First of all, let's do a few more spins, right? Let's just do a few more spins. And we don't really care about the money today. Looking for patterns. Okay. All right, let's get another one out there just in case. Boy, this little simulator game is really slow and really loud. I will not be using this one again. All right, so let's spin one more time. Okay, wow. Is it going to give us the result? There you go. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at this little group of results that we now have, right? Let's see if we spot any patterns. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the easy ones, the red and the black. So we have, going back here, we have, well, actually, here we go right here. So the easiest pattern that most people do spot in roulette is when there's a bunch of reds or a bunch of blacks, right? So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 blacks in a row here. All right, 4 blacks in a row. So is that a pattern? Of course that's a pattern, right? Of course that's a pattern. But here's the pattern that your eyes are not seeing, right? Odd, even, odd. Okay, so for this pattern to continue, right? Odd, even, odd. We would now, if the pattern continued, you'd be looking for an even here. So we'd be looking for a break of that pattern, right? Of the even odd pattern. Also, like I said, this is all 4 of these are black. So that is a pattern. For the pattern to continue, it would be another black. But are we looking for the break? We may be looking for a break here, right? We may be looking for a break. So we have 2 choices right now, just in what we're looking at in regards to a pattern breaking scenario, right? We have red as a pattern breaking scenario, and we also have odd, because this was odd, even, odd, right? So the next one in this pattern would be an even, we'd be betting odd. So red and odd would be our let's just take a look at it, and we'll just throw something up there so we can spin. All right, and we're looking for, let's make sure, red and odd, red and odd. Let's see if that pattern breaks, or at least one of them breaks. Okay, so one pattern continued, right? One pattern continued because we had another black, but we did win on the odd bet, right? We did win on the odd bet, and that broke the pattern of the odd, two evens, and odd, and now that should have been an even, and we bet on odd to break the pattern. So one of those patterns did break. So do you understand that? So this is a good example for roulette patterns. Now, to be able to see the more complicated patterns, it's going to take a little bit longer for you to see that. And what do I mean by that? So seeing these other patterns, okay, so let's go back a little bit here. So 35 is in the third dozen, 15 is in the second dozen, and 20 is in the second dozen. So let's go back a little further. Let's see if we can see anything here that we can spot that's making any sense. We'll go back 4, okay? And I'm going to talk about how many to go back in a moment. So that's second dozen, second dozen, second dozen, and that's third dozen. So not really. There's nothing really much going on there. But your eyes are going to start to see these patterns and be able to break them. So let's talk about one other concept here in regards to pattern breaking. Okay, pattern breaking. So you may notice, if we go back here, that some of these had 4 in them, some of these have 5, and I can do patterns that have 6, like this. Okay, right? It could be BB, PP, BB, right? Okay, and the next one there, if the pattern continued, would be what? A player. So we would be betting for a banker here. So sometimes when people are new to pattern breaking, they say, well, how many are you looking for? Well, here's what I would say to you. The longer that a pattern has gone, the more of a chance that it's going to break, right? And we can talk about that. That's a little bit of a more advanced strategy or more advanced thought process. But four result patterns are perfectly fine. 5 result patterns are perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. Sometimes your brain is not going to spot these longer patterns. So at the beginning of evaluating and understanding this concept, you may be looking just 4 back, right? I like to look at 4 and 5 patterns. I'm not a big fan of patterns of 3 as much, only because I don't see them as a stronger pattern, right? But there's nothing wrong with it. You can win a lot of money looking to break patterns of 3 all day long, and you're going to have a lot more bets with that. So let's take one more look, and then we're going to get into a tiny little bit of money management, even though I said I wouldn't. Let's take a look at Baccarat. Okay, so we did see this, right? We spotted this, right? So what would you have done here, right? How would this have turned into if you took some type of pattern recognition or pattern breaking concept, and you wanted to turn it into more than just a concept, and you wanted to start working on a system like we do, and then testing out that system over simulations and live play? You would have to acknowledge how long of a pattern you are looking for. So let's take a look here. So what if we acknowledged here, and this is very basic. I'm not telling you that this is a system. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you that this is how we evaluate concepts that may eventually turn into a full-fledged system. So here we have a stick, right? So let's take a look at this one. So this streak or stick of bankers is 4 long, all right? So your brain could say, well, wait a minute. I know that most of the time these patterns don't last very long. Now we have seen streaks, right, that come all the way down here and go to the right. Okay, those are streaks that do last quite a bit. But the majority, I would say probably 90% of sticks that get beyond three in a row, okay, will break within the next what? 5, let's say, right? 5. So you literally could take a look at this and you can test this out and you can play with this. If you wait for any stick that goes beyond 3 or beyond, okay, 3 or beyond. And then your money management portion or component of your system tells you to start betting for the chop, the opposite, right? You would have started betting here for what? For the opposite, for the pattern to break, meaning the player to come out. And you would have lost here, and then you would have won your second bet. You see that? So the same thing goes here. What if you were waiting for 3 here, right? 3 chops in a row, and you were waiting for the pattern to break. So here's your 3 in a row chops, right? And you would have wanted another player to come out to break the 3 pattern, right? Or the 4 pattern if you wanted to go 4. So let's go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a banker. So you would have wanted another banker to come to break the chop streak, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. We would be looking for a player. We would have lost our first bet and we would have won our next bet. All right, we would have won our next bet. Even though the actual pattern didn't really break, did it? It didn't really break. The pattern continued here. But because we had a progression, a money management tool that we're using to recover, we still would have won. Okay, we still would have won here. All right, if you continue to use that specific pattern. Now, what some people will tell you is the other way to look at it, and this is definitely part of a different algorithm. So let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. You were looking for another banker. You didn't get it, right? Now you're looking for the pattern to break. So now you're looking for another player. It didn't come. Now you're looking for another banker. It didn't come. So this pattern continued for quite a while before eventually here is the break. So this was a very long pattern, okay, there. So you can take a look and you can evaluate different types of patterns, all right? Sometimes you're looking for a more complicated pattern to break, right? You're looking for something more complicated. So I can't show you on the screen here, but maybe I can show you it as a bead road concept. How's that? A bead road concept. So there are many strategies that people use with the bead road, okay, which is 6 results, 6 results, 6 results. And one of these pattern breaking concepts that a lot of people like to use, they don't even realize they're breaking the pattern. They're just playing it with hardcore rules is this. So in this situation here, well, this didn't really work out too well, but you can see, let me just show you how to use this. So if you're looking from right to left, you're seeing that this is a no mirror, meaning that the two are not the same, right? Banker and player. They're not, it's not like this. And the next one is the exact same thing where it's a no mirror, where they're not mirroring each other, banker and player. So some systems will tell you then if it's no mirror, to bet mirror here, meaning that you look at what's left here, right, a player, and now you're going to bet that this one is going to break that pattern and it's going to be a mirror, right, that this is going to be a player. It didn't work here, right, but that's only one bet, right? So maybe you're going the next step and now you're going to determine that this is going to be your mirror. So now you're going to bet banker as your second bet, all right? So with that topic, let's go back to our little sheet and let's talk about that for a second. So really, let's wrap this thing up with a little bit of money management, just a little bit, all right? And where money management comes into our concept of breaking different patterns, okay? So this is only a concept, right? Pattern breaking is a concept. It's not a system, right? You would determine what your rules would be when you decided to jump in and you found that pattern, right? Let's say you found this pattern, RRB, RR, and that was enough for you to say, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to step my foot in the water and I'm going to place a bet that this pattern is going to break by another R coming out, another red, right? Another red coming out instead of a black, right? Instead of a black, it's a red. Well, we can't tell you, no one can tell you in nature or random numbers that this pattern is absolutely going to break on the next one. What if it continues with a B here, right? And then we know that for it to continue, it would have to be an R. So we would be betting what? A B, a black next, a black. So you have to be prepared in your recovery system, your money management system, for how many bets you're willing to make for the pattern to break. Okay. So here's the way I look at this. And this is another money management concept, which is not really what we're talking about today, but let's get into it for 1 minute here. So when you place any type of a bet, I consider that an investment, right? An investment in the concept, in the bet placement, in the strategy. It's an investment. Same thing that you're doing when you're playing in Wall Street or any type of other asset class. You're putting your foot in the water and you're throwing a chum out there and hoping that the right fish bites, right? We're hoping for the right result here, okay? We don't have that crystal ball. It may break 2 steps down here. So this may be a B, R, R, right? And then another B would have to come out for it to continue. So we're going to be betting an R. We can't tell you when the pattern is going to break. So what most systems do is they're looking for a single win, right? Once you win, it's over, this concept, right? And now you're looking for another pattern. And that's how you're finding your next bet placement. Well, it may take 1, 2, 3, 4 bets before this pattern breaks. The longer the pattern, we find the more of a chance of the break happening quicker. Okay? But that doesn't always happen. That's not a given. That's not a 100% statement. I'm just telling you that that's the way it normally works in the world in terms of patterns. So we have to be prepared to make multiple bets. And that's where the money management progression side of this type of concept. So if we figured out that every 4 times this happens, right, this pattern, we're going to bet B, we're going to bet black. We then have to determine what is our money management? How much are we betting each step of the way? And how far are we willing to take that for this pattern to break before we say enough is enough? They beat us. The pattern is still continuing and we need to take our loss and move on, right? So that's the second part of what would happen if we were to actually take this concept to the next level, okay? And of course, then we would be testing and testing and testing. So today's concept is really only about opening your eyes to patterns, seeing the patterns, and being able to understand that one of the concepts is seeing the pattern break, seeing the pattern break, right? So another thought process, and this can be done for an entire another video, is instead of breaking the pattern, you're looking for a win within the pattern. And I can't go too far on this, but let's just say that one of the videos that I put up showing me play roulette in the last 2 weeks was based on a similar concept. And by the way, that concept won 168 times and lost 3 times in Vegas 2 weeks ago. All right. And that's a concept that we're working on right now that will be part of the back end of the private strategies for Cruise Casino Mafia private members. So let's just talk about that for 1 minute. So let's assume that this is a Baccarat pattern. Okay. B, B, P, P, B. Okay. Nothing special about that. It's just 5 results in a row. All right. What if you decided that you wanted to test this pattern, but instead of looking for it to break, you actually wanted this pattern to give you 1 win in the pattern? So this is a different concept that I'm explaining to you now that you can just think about. If you played every 5 results, taking out the ties, remove the ties from this equation, and you played a bet for banker and you lost, a bet for banker and you lost, a bet for player and you lost, a bet for player and you won, okay? That was basically a different concept. That's finding a win in the pattern of 5, finding a win in the pattern of 5. And that's a totally different concept that we're going to cover, an advanced concept that we're going to do on one of these sessions on a Friday freebie. So I don't want to hit you with too much at once. So you've learned today that there are patterns in every game, right? There are patterns in every game. Some of them are more complicated to see, like in roulette with the dozens or the rows or the columns and other things like that. Sometimes you will find more than one pattern at the same time, like we did, where we were trying to break the pattern and we had a choice between even or red, and we just put it on both, but you have a choice. There's two patterns that can break there, all right? So pattern breaking is a phenomenal concept because the logic behind it is that no pattern continues forever. That does not mean you're going to win every bet. It means that there's a very good chance that the pattern is going to break. But when is it going to break is always the problem that needs to be solved in terms of your stop loss and in terms of your money management. How far are you willing to go to break the pattern? So go ahead and test this a little bit. If you guys use a roulette simulator, works great. Baccarat simulator, you know that we use, like most people, a lot of times for our basic simulations, we're using Wizard of Odds. And go ahead and just test out. And the only thing you should be doing is looking and seeing if you can spot the patterns. And try to spot patterns that are at least 3 long, and more often than not, four results make up the pattern. And just acknowledge and record the results and see how far you needed to go to break the pattern. This will change your thought process on all casino games when you start to acknowledge patterns and pattern breaking. With that, I hope you guys learned something from this. It's about 32 minutes, this video. Take a few notes, think about it, and your brain will open up to all kinds of opportunities and thoughts when you acknowledge the patterns that surround us in trading, in the stock market, and here, right here with casino gaming. With that being said, please like and share the video. I hope you guys subscribe to the channel for lots of interesting things coming up. We're going to do a lot of demo videos of different concepts for roulette and baccarat and possibly craps over the next few weeks. And remember, we're running a very, very special membership to celebrate our new website. We have a discounted membership that's going on right now to join and get all the private systems and training over at cruisecasinomafia.com. And to celebrate the 4th of July, this is a special announcement. We're going to put a limited code, to put in if you become a member before the end of this week. Before the end of this week, you can get $50 off code off the membership. And this is a lifetime membership right now. That will be changing to an annual membership and going up in the real near future. So take advantage of a lifetime, membership. A lifetime membership for a discount. And now for the next week, we're giving you an additional $50 off to celebrate 4th of July. That code will be put into the description. Join while it's usable, and because it won't work forever, it will expire. We hope to see you as a new member. We're doing some amazing things. There are multiple systems that we have released that are fantastic. You will find the 1 or 2 systems that really click with you. You will practice them and you will be able to use them on your next cruise, land-based casino, or like we do, online to make an income stream on a daily basis. Thanks a lot. Take it easy. This is Jack from cruisecasinomafia.com.